listening to AstroDetectives, where longtime friends Scott and Sarah try to debunk
or prove
the ancient practice of astrology.
I'm Sarah Hartshorn, the astrologer.
And I'm Scott Randall, the skeptic. Each episode, I'll give Sarah 2 natal charts. One chart matches the exact moment of birth for our mystery guest, and the other is just a red herring.
I'll use astrology to detect which chart belongs to our guest. And with a little help from my underground network of AstroDetectives, this case is as good as solved.
Oh, we'll see about that. Hey, AstroDetectives listeners, we're back with another case of exciting intrigue. We've got our AstroDetectives on hand. We've got our guests joining us later. But first of all, our favorite astrologer, Sarah. Welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that I'm your favorite astrologer, even though you don't believe in astrology.
Yeah, I can still have a favorite.
Not that you're biased in that opinion.
Yeah, I can still like them. Like, there are astrologers that I think talk about astrology in interesting, fun ways. And then, of course, you have the added advantage of being my friend. So, you know, I would totally be biased. You're right.
Okay.
And one thing we don't like on this show is any form of bias. So for the rest of the episode, I'm not your friend. I'm your skeptical adversary.
I know. You are, yeah.
Speaking of this, let's talk about the record, where we standing right now.
Well, Scott, we are on episode 45. So up to episode 44, we are at, let me check the skeptometer. It says 57.7%. So
all right.
We're trending back upward. I like this. We hit a little bump in the road, but
it's been a bumpy road.
You know what? There's a learning curve here. It was more bumpy in the beginning, and now it's starting to level out and trend upwards.
I love this skeptometer because we can see we are still solidly in the Team Skeptic zone of red. I'm red and you're green. Somehow green is like associated with more good, and red is usually like the bad guys. I think of Star Wars. So, yeah. But I'm not complaining that the skeptics are the bad guys on this chart.
Yeah. Because
the evil empire so far is still winning. So we're going to take it. The force
you're going to be overthrown.
The skeptical force is strong with this one.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe we can talk about this in another episode or later on, but I've been trying to come up with other perspectives on our data instead of just having one solid percentage. I'm trying to show growth. So I'm like looking at the perspective of, instead of just from the beginning, what percentage are we at? Assuming, I was pretty young and naive coming into this, but I've learned a lot in a year and a half. And I think I'm doing a lot better. And I would like, some stats to show that to you.
Well, we're going to week to week show off that improvement. And I love when you cut up the stats in different ways. Sometimes it can be a bit of a glass half full perspective. But, I think the more episodes we do, the more it's hard to paint any other pictures. And we can divide them up by groups and look for trends, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. I would say, it's trying to revert to the mean of being like around 50%. But yes, it has improved. So yeah. We need to do more of these retraced episodes again, where we used to just be Sarah and Scott and maybe a guest, and we talk about like where we stand after the record, or just kind of like skepticism and astrology, and kind of discussing the different perspectives of it. Those are fun. We'll bring them back at some. It's been a while since we've done one, but we'll bring those back again. But this episode is not about that. This episode, we're here to create some more statistics in favor or against astrology. And Sarah, you don't have to do it on your own. You've got a guest astrologer here ready to help you out. Who do we have?
That's right. Yes, I'm very excited about our guest astrologer today. She is joining us from the other hemisphere, from Melbourne, Australia, which is always exciting. She's in the future. She's been involved in astrology for a couple decades now, with a focus on traditional astrology. Karrin Schoen, welcome to Astro Detectives, and please feel free to correct me if I did not say that right.
Hi, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, no, it's Schoen. It is German.
Okay, yeah. I gave it
Lovely
my
to be
best
here.
shot. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
you did. Yeah, it's lovely. Thanks
I
for
think
trying.
this is our second Australian. Episode 25, we had Christy, and that was a lot of fun. And I think they were talking about how in the Southern Hemisphere, not everything's backwards, but it does affect astrology in interesting ways. Doesn't? No, it's the same?
Same.
It's all the same. Okay. I forgot who the guest astrologer, or it was, Carly Lynn. She was talking about how there was like a difference in different hemispheres.
No, there's theories about that, but in practice, it's the same.
Okay.
Alan Adamboss has a good theory on that, saying that the seasonal references to the zodiac, which I think is way overplayed, by the way. But he said that they're based on the whole solar system's orientation to like a galactic center. Yeah. So I don't know if he's right. But yeah, in practice, like most of the charts that I do are for Australians, and all the significations work quite fine the way that that we have it. Traditionally.
Awesome.
And then the charts this week are, I think they're from right here in the U.S. As you guys were looking at these two charts, what were the main differences that you noticed that you're going to be looking for when our guest arrives to try and pick which one is their chart and which one is the red herring?
Yeah, well, just to let everybody know, as usual, you can get these charts from our website, astrodetectivespod.com. And this week we are playing with, we have a Scorpio sun with a Pisces moon and a Gemini rising. And then we have a Taurus sun with a Capricorn moon and a Libra rising.
And if you follow us on Patreon, you actually get these case file charts attached in the email that announces that there's a new episode up on Patreon. So you don't even have to go to the website. It's so convenient. Listen from your phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too easy.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. We've got Scorpio and Taurus because they have what we call polarity, because they're exactly 180 degrees opposite on the wheel. So they have some interesting parallels there. But the differences that we'll focus on today, or that I'm going to focus on, is I'm really into like focusing on Saturn placements. Maybe that's because I'm Saturn ruled. I don't know. But so in our Scorpio chart, we have Saturn in the 9th whole sign house, pretty close to the midheaven in Aquarius. And so, that can be somebody. So the reason Saturn is significant is because in evolutionary astrology, at least, it has a lot to do with like your karma and what you're here to learn. And so Saturn in Aquarius people can be very individualistic to a fault. They really need to do things their own way, and they can be very stubborn about conforming. But they can be very highly innovative and inspirational people. And someone who I think is a stellar example of this is Conan O'Brien. He ended up leaving the Tonight Show instead of conforming to what the network was trying to push on him to do that time change. And then
every time you mention a celebrity, there's like high expectations for the guest to fill, because they're like, okay, do we have Conan coming in the door or somebody who's like Conan? And they have to bring it. They're going to have to bring it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like one little aspect that can show up it's a big aspect, but it shows up in different ways. So, and so this other person, the Taurus, sun, they've got a Saturn in Pisces. And so Saturn in Pisces people can be really late bloomers as far as coming into their purpose, and they can struggle with feeling kind of insignificant and for a while. They can be really like searching for meaning in their life for quite some time. And then eventually they can become these great healers and spiritual teachers. And a great example of this is Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight on The Office. He was like this actor, and now he's become like this spiritual author and teacher later into his life. So those are the two differences that I'm going to be kind of focusing on. Yeah, Karrin. Do you want to add to that? Sorry, Karrin.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm coming in with a different focus. I'm looking at standout significations. I focus a lot on planets that are on the angles, sort of coming towards the angles in diurnal motion. So in the Taurus chart, we have Venus, very prominent. Venus is also the lord of the ascendant, so Venus is going to be a big deal in the Taurus chart. It's in its own sign. So I'm looking for a sort of gentle demeanour, perhaps, creative, artistic, and a little bit conservative, a little bit proper. But a bit edgy also, because we've got Uranus sitting right on the IC. So there'll be this under toe and like just little crazy things coming out now and then. I'm not sure how much the moon Neptune will show. I think that's more of a private thing, but it is a big thing in their life to have Neptune right on the moon. I did also look at the fixed stars a bit, and I'm thinking some sort of artist in this one.
What's really interesting about the Scorpio chart is that also has a planet on the angles.
It does, yes. And we've got, so going to the Scorpio chart, we've got Saturn and Mars. So they're traditionally the malefic planets. So I'm seeing the Scorpio person to be quite a bit more sort of individualistic and direct, and not as pleasant as the Taurus chart, Taurus person, I should say. And there'll be, of course, a huge amount of emphasis on this Scorpio stellium. That will certainly play out in their life big time, and that involves the rulers of so many houses that are about other people. So I'm thinking this person is going to be involved in community in a big way. And I'm feeling like I had this, I get this fantasy that this person might be like a first responder or a trauma response aid worker or something like that.
I could see that for sure, yeah.
So I'll just be really just focusing on the feel that I get from the person, whether they feel calm or whether they feel a little bit more
intense.
Intense.
Sometimes
Scorpio, the best of times is intense, and then to have the two malefics on the angles as well,
Sometimes you want your first responder to be calm, though. You want that calm demeanor in a crisis situation. You want them to come in and say, "Hey, look, you're going to be fine. You're in good hands."
This is true, but we do have Saturn as the main one up on the midheaven, so it's very powerful in the Scorpio chart, and it's in its own sign. So there's every chance that he will be, or she. I don't even know. Like male, female, it also makes a difference, and we didn't have that information to be, looking at the charts and meditating on the charts. So
would that help? Is that information I should give you guys in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Or do you guys want to guess? Is that fun? The charts sometimes seem like they're more male or female.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with just being hit with it. I don't know. Although, we did an experiment one time with you giving us the photo of the person beforehand, which was kind of cool, just because I like to, try and figure out what their rising sign is based on their image and stuff. But, either way, I'm fine waiting and being hit with it, right? Like, because I've been really trying to notate or pay attention to my initial impression of them in the first like 5 seconds.
The 2 podcasts that I've listened to of yours, straight up picked them within moments.
Awesome.
And ended up being right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, let's see if we can do that again today.
This could be a very short episode. We could start doing shows that are like
I'm going
5 minutes long.
I thought about that. I thought about what if we did like just matching rising signs. I did get that right when we did the rap beef episode, Patreon episode. I did get I was able to pick out which one. It's so embarrassing that I did not know, which one was Drake and which one was Kendrick based on their photos, but I was able to use their charts to match them to the right photos.
Yep. We were testing quite a bit on that episode, but I will say that's one of the ones you got right.
Yeah.
As we were going back and forth. For Patreon supporters, that one is available. Patreon.com/AstroDetectives. But for this episode, we are going to take a little break and come right back with our guest and get this thing started. Get the case opened. Start the interrogation right after this.
Hey, Astro Detective listeners, this is your resident astrologer, Sarah Hartshorn, and I wanted to let you know about my coaching practice called My Cosmic Coach, where I offer natal astrology readings, human design readings, and a whole lot more. And right now, for fans of the Astro Detectives podcast, I'm offering $25 off my signature one-on-one coaching session. This is a holistic approach I developed that will guide you through any kind of decision you're trying to make or challenge you're navigating, where we're going to consult both your human design and astrology charts and even pull a few cards too. And you'll walk away with really clear, really practical and actionable advice that is aligned and specific just to you. So head on over to mycosmiccoach.com and use promo code AstroDetectives at checkout when you book a one-on-one coaching session with me. That's mycosmiccoach.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here with our guest this week, Lindsey. Welcome to Astro Detectives.
Hi, happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, and we're going to start in the same place we do with every guest. If you could kind of describe what you currently have on, and if you have any tattoos.
I'm wearing very comfy clothes because I work from home, and that is my daily uniform. So I have on a t-shirt and some pajama pants, honestly. And I do have tattoos. I have one on my back, and then I have my forearms both done.
All right. And can you just kind of briefly tell us what those are if they have significance to you?
Yeah, the one on my back is a collection of different wildflowers that are significant to, most of them are from Texas wildflowers, which is where I'm at. And then there's a couple other ones that I'm not going to go into detail on. And then my forearm tattoos, one is an olive branch and the other is a linden tree branch. So the olive branch is, that has a lot of symbolism throughout the entire world, right?
You're offering peace or understanding with someone else? Or what does it mean to you?
Yeah, victory, things like that. And then the linden tree branch is the origin of my name, Lindsey. And it also stands for things like justice and family and love and all of that.
Okay, cool. Getting into work, you said you work from home. Can you kind of describe what you do and maybe if you have some career similarities, like from job to job, things that you find in common and just what you feel like you're good at?
Yeah. So what I do currently is I work in search engine optimization. Not at all what I thought I would be doing, but it is a very cool job. I've learned a lot from it. I really enjoy the kind of like project management side of things, which is really fun. And that kind of carried over from, I used to be a teacher up until a little bit post-COVID. So I have kind of been able to carry over a lot of those soft skills from teaching into my current job, which is great because I have big client load and sometimes it's like hunting kids down for their homework, honestly.
So your clients are kind of like the children in class that you need to kind of supervise or keep on track?
Some of them can be. I mean, we're all busy adult people with our daily lives. And so sometimes they just need a little reminder, far less than the children ever did. But yeah,
you don't
so
have
I've
to
been
send
doing
a
that
note
for a couple
home.
years now.
You don't have to send a note home or anything if they've been misbehaving.
Yeah, no, I don't have to call any parents or anything like that. So it's great.
Perfect. Now, those seem like different jobs, like the teacher. What did you like about that position?
The kids were cool for the most part. I mean, and I think every teacher would say that. Some are really great, some are awesome, and then some make you want to pull your hair out or put your head through a cinder block wall or something like that. But I formed some really great relationships with a lot of my students. There were a lot of things to it that I didn't enjoy, but I didn't go into teaching thinking that it would be a 30+ year career. I was going to go to law school, decided against that after I saw some friends go to law school, and I realized, ooh, I would hate that.
What would you hate about it?
Just the level of stress, honestly. Like, I can handle stressful situations. I can jump into a client meeting with a client that's upset about something or freaking out about something or whatever, and I can handle it. But just putting myself through 3 years of just high stress schooling constantly didn't sound like a fun time to me. So I went to teaching instead, and then I got a master's in public relations, and now I work in a marketing adjacent field. So
can I ask, what was it about law school? Like, I understand why you didn't like the idea of it, but what initially drew you to it?
I like the idea of kind of equity and justice. And I studied political science in college, and I really loved studying political science. And it was something that I felt was kind of a natural progression of that. And I like the idea of just being able to, because lawyers are able to use their words and use their knowledge to like influence change. And I thought that would be a very cool thing to be able to do. But then as I got closer to that point in my life, and I kind of did like a cost benefit analysis of like, would I be happy on the path to get there? Would I be happy once I got there? I kind of realized I wouldn't be.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Going into like, how would your friends describe you?
Oh, I'm weird. Weird. Intelligent. Talks a lot. Crafty. I make a lot of things. I will always have some sort of work in progress that I'm doing. Chronically online, maybe.
It's weird is like a funny description, because a lot of times people think they're weird, but if more than half of the people think they're weird, then maybe they're the normal ones, and it's the quote unquote normal people who are weird. What makes you say that you're weird?
I'm neurodivergent, undiagnosed all throughout childhood. And then whenever I started teaching, I kind of realized, oh, that makes so much sense.
What is neurodivergent for those of us that don't know? For those in the audience that don't know, I'm going to pretend like I do.
Basically, your brain is just wired in a different way. You think through things. You deal with, input processing. So some people have auditory processing disorders. Some people, like a lot of people see neurodivergence in two ways: autism and ADHD. It encompasses much more than those two, but those are the two people are probably most familiar with. So, just, sometimes you get a little overstimulated. Sometimes you just need to just completely space out. Sometimes you need a very specific type of input to make your brain happy. And I think about things in a very different way than other people do. So like in college, some friends of mine were all math majors, and it was a club for math majors at the university, and they would try to tackle these kind of like different styles of math problems. We had to you couldn't think of them in a linear way. You had to kind of think around the problem. And they would just kind of like, we would be hanging out on weekends and they would just be like, here's a math problem, figure it out. And I'd get it every single time. And they were like, why are you not a math major? How are you doing these things that, other math majors or people with master's degrees are having trouble thinking about?
Like a Goodwill Hunting moment.
A little bit.
Karrin.
Do you feel like, I'll start it. Are you ambidextrous?
No.
Okay.
Terrible with my left hand.
All right. So do you feel like you can get a big overview of a situation, like snap judgment, and can also see the very fine details?
Yeah, I definitely have to do that a lot in my current job.
Yeah, and simultaneously, like big and then okay, great.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking through like 3 different ways around a problem at once. A lot of it.
Yeah, which a lot of people can't do. Special gift. Okay, thank you.
One little bit, you mentioned chronically online, and I think a lot of people can relate to that these days. How do you see that? Do you see that? I mean, the word chronically, like, do you see it as too much? Is it a problem or is it useful?
All right, well, my entire job is online.
There you go.
With search engine optimization, I have to be, and because I work from home, I have to be constantly connected to the internet. I spend my entire like work day Googling things. That's my entire work day. And then, the pastime of a lot of young adults of, scrolling through social media, scrolling through TikTok. I enjoy things that are funny and comedic. And so I really enjoy kind of meme culture, and, I like finding things that other people think are funny and different styles of humor. And the internet's a really cool way of being able to do that. And I really love to learn things. I'm constantly trying to learn things and everything. I'm always like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. People are like, oh, you learn something new every day. Like, I actively try to. So, things like the internet have made that far simpler for people in the last 30 plus years. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it can be learning, then I feel like it's productive. But if I'm on the 5th cat video, I'm like, okay, Scott, what are you doing?
And sometimes you just need to just disassociate from the rest of the world a little bit, and a cat video can help with that.
Okay, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about growing up, your childhood, parents? What was that kind of like for you?
Yeah, I grew up with 2 younger sisters. Parents have been together for many, many, many years at this point. I'm the oldest of the 3, and we were all very, very close in age. So that led to a lot of bickering, a lot of fights. We're all very stubborn and hard-headed, and some of that is honestly probably genetic. But our parents always wanted to make sure, like, one, we knew things, right? They kind of instilled that early hunger for knowledge and learning things. But also to, make our voices heard and all that. And that might have been to their detriment because they had to deal with the 3 of us fighting constantly. We're great friends now. We love each other very much. But I know for a few years there, it was especially dark for my parents, dealing with 3 teenage girls and all of that.
So on the note of families, did your family, or did you or your family have some sort of crises going on when you were about between 2 and 4?
Not that I know of, no.
All right. And then would you say with your sisters and your parents, was there a lot of like unspoken feelings going on, so, which then, it's like a subtle form of gaslighting where you just don't know why people are feeling what they're feeling or doing what they're doing. No one's really communicating clearly.
Not really in a form of gaslighting. The only thing I could think of is one of my siblings did have a lot of emotional regulation struggles as a child. And that was very upsetting for me a lot of the time. Because it was like, this doesn't make sense. Why is this happening? Why is this,
So
why is there so much anger and frustration and anxiety and all of that? In our adult years, that sibling has kind of figured out that there is PTSD from natural disaster that happened whenever we were young. And for anyone, that's scary, but especially for someone who was as young as she was whenever it happened, and, being told that your house might not be there whenever you get back home.
Yeah, so you did have
caused a lot of
crisis.
Here.
Right. So
yeah,
how
it
old
wasn't
were
it wasn't
you?
between the ages of 2 and 4. I was in middle school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you give any detail about what the natural disaster was?
It was a hurricane.
Okay. And did it actually destroy your house, or was it just the fear that it might?
It was the fear that it might.
Okay.
Because we did evacuate for it. We evacuated for a number of storms, but that was kind of the first one of my memory, really, and especially of hers. And so there was just that's stressful for anybody, but especially little kids. Yeah, that was a lot. And so that anxiety and that fear and that trauma had carried over, and the emotional dysregulation caused a lot of friction between, I'd say, especially between me and the youngest sibling. Just because, she didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. Our parents were kind of didn't really know how to deal with it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Speaking
not
of-
awesome, but thank you.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of hurricanes, I don't know if it would be in your chart or not, but can you kind of share what the last week or two has entailed for you?
Oh, yeah. Last week, whenever you emailed me trying to confirm for last week's recording, I had no internet, no power, no cell signal because of the hurricane that hit the Houston area. So that was a fun little few days last week, but we are all good. My partner and I had to leave our apartment for a few days just because being here without AC during a heat advisory, and whenever my livelihood depends on an internet connection, didn't sound like a fun time. So we went to stay with family.
For sure. And I joked, maybe that's in your chart and it'll help them out.
Yeah, I reckon it is.
All right.
Yeah, same.
And also, amazing transition on your part, because I was about to get to marriage or romantic partners, and you kind of mentioned there is someone in your life. Can you kind of describe them and just kind of what you look for in a partner?
Yeah, I have a really great partner right now. He's more than I could have hoped for in a life partner, which is great. We had known each other for a few years before we got romantically involved. I was actually married at the time whenever we initially met, because we had met at one of my last jobs while I was teaching. And we reconnected after I got divorced. And it has just been, he improves my life in so many ways, and I like sharing my life with him. So that's a cool thing to be able to say and everything.
For sure. Is he a teacher also? Or what?
Yeah, he is, and he actually still teaches.
So sorry, I tuned out a little bit because I was busy looking at the lots then. But did you say, was he a friend for a while before?
Yeah, we were friends and coworkers for a while.
Thank you.
Can you talk about the person that you had married? I was just curious how you would describe him or her. I guess it was him when you first met? Like what drew you to this person and just how you would describe them?
Yeah. My ex was initially funny. He could be very charming whenever he wanted to be. He was smart, intelligent. And I was, probably younger than I should have been, maybe, and overlooked some things that I would highly recommend people not overlook in a partner.
Can you give an example of
Anger problems,
anger?
not taking ownership of things, and putting a lot of blame on other people, other situations, and all of that for his ultimate unhappiness.
Okay.
These are the great things to share with listeners. You were saying you would not recommend, if you run into those issues.
Yeah,
notice those flags.
It was something that I thought for a long time. Oh, it'll change when gets a new job. It'll change when we move out of the area. It'll change when, and I made a lot of excuses for that person throughout our entire relationship, dating, engaged, married. And ultimately, I couldn't be making excuses for another grown adult person anymore, especially someone who was older than me and absolutely should have known better. So.
Mm-hmm. Can't expect somebody to change too much. At a certain point, they are who they are. Yeah.
And they can say that they will change, but until there's action, they won't. And don't expect someone to change for you. Because, there was a point whenever I thought if our marriage is worth it, if our relationship is worth it, if he loves me enough, he will change. But ultimately, he didn't want to. He didn't see the problem. And he wasn't going to. And so I had to make a decision for myself. And that decision was to end that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And did he go easily? Or
there was pushback initially. There were a number of attempts to get back in my good graces. We did not have children together. We had a dog together, though. And there were a lot of, you're breaking apart the family. And the dog misses you, and all these things to try to, and all these different things to try to bring me back. And I was very proud of myself. I didn't go back. I didn't entertain it. I was lucky to have a good support network of friends who have gone through divorce before and everything. So.
Speaking for the dog, I mean, you don't know. Maybe that dog was like, no, I'm proud of you. You live your best life. I understand.
I miss that dog so much. Mm-hmm. I miss the dog so much, but I didn't know what my living situation was going to be. And so that was not something that I could take responsibility on.
So no children. What are your thoughts on children?
That's a complicated question.
Also, for any of these, skip is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of children, especially with my current partner. But I do know that, I understand the gravity of what having a child means and how that affects my life, my partner's life, my family's life, and what all goes into that. And also, do I want to bring a child into the current state of the world and things like that? So with my current partner, yes, I would. But that's not something that we're ready for at this moment. And so that's a bridge that we'll cross whenever we potentially get to it.
On the subject of money and debt and just spending, earning, is it kind of easy come, easy go with money, or do you tend to save up for big purchases? What's your relationship like with money?
I've always been pretty good with money. I was fortunate enough to not have any debt after college due to scholarship. And so that was great. And I know that really set me up for success in adulthood because I didn't have to worry about mountains of debt. I save a lot. I'm really try to put money aside every paycheck. I get a little impulsive spendy at times, but ultimately I like spending money on experiences, whether it's going out to eat at a new restaurant, doing something, going on a trip and traveling. Those are things I would rather put my money towards. And honestly, anything that's going to be even moderately expensive, I'm just like, probably not worth it. So, yeah, experiences is what I would put my money towards. I mean, my car right now is 11 years old and I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off. So
there you go. You got to get your money's worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as health goes, any major injuries or just health concerns overall that have been ongoing, and good self-care that you found that kind of works for you?
Oh gosh, health, migraines. I've gotten migraines for a good chunk of my life. They can be pretty debilitating sometimes, but I've, like any good migraine sufferer does, tried all the gadgets you find on Amazon, all the over-the-counter, all the prescription stuff, and just kind of have my little regimen that works for me.
For those listening with migraines, any wonder drugs or things that you found that really works for you?
Honestly, my thing is Aleve, ice packs, and sleep.
There you go.
And I get a massage every month to help with like just constant tension in my neck and shoulders. Because if I didn't, it'd be worlds worse. So, but every migraine sufferer is different. There's no magic pill or anything, unfortunately. I wish there was.
Mm-hmm. And what else is going on for you?
Not much. I haven't had any major health issues throughout my life. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's really the main thing there.
Okay. And then just for self-care, what's something that like you just find really you benefit from, or it may be part of your routine that you do that really kind of pays off for you?
The monthly massage, for sure. Not at all relaxing in any way. It's a pretty painful experience. But I walk out every single time feeling like my body has been returned to its like factory settings, which is just like, even if I just get to experience that for 10 minutes, it's a great feeling. So if you've never had like a really like, digging out all of your problems massage, I mean, you'll walk out there feeling like a new person. You're going to hurt the next day, but you'll feel like a new person for 10 minutes. And that's a really cool feeling. I mean, I like spending time with people I care a lot about. And that's always nice to just kind of like, escape the struggle of work and, just all other things. So I really like spending time with family, even though I don't live near family anymore. I do see them pretty regularly. Spending time with my partner. I have a couple of like cousins who live near me. And so I try to see them every once in a while. Things like that. Mm-hmm. I think that's, spending time with people who get you, who understand you, who you're comfortable around is just really great because you can just kind of like shake off everything else. You don't have to, have your customer service voice on all of the time or anything like that. You can just be very real with people. And I think just being able to like kind of take the masks off and just kind of like shake it all off and just let it out is great.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe the last 12 months? Any big themes or, going on?
I mean, there was a hurricane. But other than that, it's been just kind of like business as usual, honestly. One of my sisters is expecting her first child. And so that's really exciting for the family. So that's been like the last few months of like, oh, there's going to be a new baby and, we're going to get to spoil it rotten. And I'm, I mentioned earlier, I'm the oldest of 3 girls. She's having a boy. And so we're all like, oh, okay, this is new. like this is fun. This is interesting. And, you know, getting ready for baby shower and making baby gifts and, you know, all the little things. So that's been an exciting development the last year. Nothing really major in my life, though. I can't recall, at least at this point.
And what about as an internal process, like the fact that you're getting a new nephew, that would be making you think about life in general and what it's about and where you are?
I mean, I definitely say that it kind of makes me think about like the future with my current partner and everything. And, you know, kind of considering different options for where we go from here. Both of my sisters are married, and they have really wonderful husbands. And, you know, seeing that and seeing my new relationship, I say new, we've been together for a couple of years now. But like seeing the, you know, like this is like, okay, cool. Like we're all happy. We're all like with people who get us, you know, it makes me think about, you know, are we going to get married one day? Like we agree that we're going to grow old together and, you know, die like in the Notebook. But, you know, like what does that path for us look like?
Yeah. So you're sort of on the verge of the next phase.
Yeah.
Of life. Yeah.
So, and just kind of, you know, like I used to feel like everything had to be like in a certain order or on a certain timeline. And growing up in the South, especially, you know, I mean, I knew so many people who were married before they even graduated college, had 2 kids by the time they were mid-20s, like, and that's kind of the formula that a lot of people kind of expect middle-class young women in the South to follow. So, yeah,
but you struck out on a more individual.
Yeah, and that's something that I've had to kind of like deconstruct in my mind of like, you know, you do things in the order and at the time that it makes sense for you. And so that's been really, and that's been a years-long process there, with kind of realizing like, hey, things don't have to go the way that it's going for everybody else or the way that people expect it to go for you. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to like fit into a mold and you can do things at your own pace and at your own speed.
Final question for me, and then I'll hand it to the astrologers for any follow-ups that they have. But if you have some media recommendations, like whether it's TV, movies, music, books that you just, you know, really like and what would recommend to the audience, but also it's kind of tells something about your personality too, and you kind of tell us why. But any of those, anything that you would say is a favorite of yours that you would want to recommend?
Yeah, I have a number of movies that I just kind of go back to. One, anything that Greta Gerwig has directed is just great. Her focus on like strong female characters and female relationships is just awesome. It's really nice to see in media. I especially love Little Women. Love that book growing up. I think Jo March is one of the greatest female protagonists in literature. So Greta Gerwig's version of that movie is beautiful. I cried like 3 times seeing it in the theaters. I've cried every time I've watched it since. It's a great movie. Kind of in the same realm, I love most things that Julie Andrews is in. My grandmother showed me like Sound of Music and Mary Poppins and things like that whenever I was a kid. So love her, like, you know, even like her later work, like Princess Diaries, great movies. So, I mean, don't knock Princess Diaries till you've tried it. I also, as far as TV goes, Abbott Elementary, I think is like the funniest comedy currently on TV. As someone who used to teach in a Title I public school, it's so accurate, it kind of hurts sometimes. But it's very real, and like what you're seeing on that show is what teachers are going through in their daily lives, and they deserve like $1 million a year. So, teachers, specific, let me clarify that. Teachers deserve like $1 million a year. Because there's so much going on in schools. And I think Abbott does a great job of portraying that.
And on your survey, you mentioned the Traitors, which I was so excited about because that is one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, we binged the first and second season in the matter of like a month and a half. It's so good. And like right now, Big Brother is starting. And I've loved Big Brother for years. Started watching it with my mom as a kid. Maybe I should have been watching it as a child, but too late now. Sometimes just trashy reality TV is honestly great. And The Traitors, season 1 was great. I think season 2 was even better. And I am so excited for season 3 because the cast list is crazy. It's so good.
I was so obsessed with that show. I watched the England and Australia versions because they were just as good, if not better.
After binging the first 2 seasons of the US version, we had to just take a break. We were like, okay, we're going to save this for whenever like shows are on hiatus and we need something else. But yeah, I'm so excited. We'll probably go to watch the British version at some point, the Australian version at some point. And also right now, lately, we've been watching the running back series on Netflix. We watched quarterbacks last year. My partner is a football guy, has played, has coached, all of that. And okay, I grew up knowing football, like at least the general rules of the sport. Didn't really have a specific team, didn't really have a specific anything like that, but like understood it. And then I get a partner who loves football, and I, have to watch 12 hours of commercial-free football every Sunday on Red Zone. This is not an ad. But yeah, we watch that, and it's nice to see the humanity behind the like gladiators on the screen every week. Like I think that's a really cool part. I like seeing the humanity in people and all of that. And so I think those shows have been kind of neat to watch. So yeah.
Still can't get over that you didn't watch the Australian version of Traitors first. Like it was made for you guys, but you still said we're doing the US version. Maybe we'll get to the Australian eventually.
We didn't even start watching the US version until like season 2 was almost over. And so it was kind of like, we just kind of started watching. And really the reason we started watching in the first place is because I got my partner hooked on Big Brother, and he saw that there were Big Brother people on season 1 and season 2. And it's kind of just like a fast-paced Big Brother. So it's great.
The celebrity aspect of it was like...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like, hey, they're out of their... And we also love like The Bachelor. Anything Bachelor Nation.
Oh.
We're all about our trashy reality.
Scott's got a podcast for you.
I committed 5 years to watching The Bachelor with a couple other guys doing a podcast from a guy's perspective watching The Bachelor.
And honestly, I didn't even get him into it. He watched it independently before we were even together. And that was one of the things that we bonded over. And honestly, like he's the love of my life, and it's great. And we love the same trashy reality TV and movies and all of that. So, yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Back on track, astrologers, any other areas that we didn't really get to that you wanted to ask Lindsey about?
Sure, I might have a couple of quick questions. Lindsey, how do you feel about letting people borrow your things?
I'm usually fine with it. I had 2 sisters who borrowed, big, heavy air quotes on that, my things all the time when we were kids. If it's something of like sentimental value, that's a different story, but I'm usually fine if people want to borrow something.
Okay.
I mean, especially if I can trust that they'll give it back, I have no issues with that.
Okay. Do you enjoy like building or fixing things?
Yeah. I love tinkering with things. I mean, some people say I should have gone into like mechanical engineering or something. But yeah, I was, as a kid, I would always like take pens apart and put them back together in class. I would, like whenever my cousin's Nerf guns wouldn't work anymore, I'd be able to fix those. And I like kind of like building things, working on things, something I got from my papa, who taught me how to use power tools at a younger age and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could ask more questions, but I don't really feel like I need to. So I'm good.
Yeah, I'm pretty good too. I just want to know about any crafty or art projects that you like to do.
I've been crafty since I was a kid. I took painting classes from like elementary through middle school, won a number of awards for that in different art shows. I make like Christmas gifts and birthday gifts a lot of the time. Or if I don't make something, I do try to find something that person's actually going to use. Like right now, I'm making a whole bunch of stuff for my new baby nephew. I'm making Christmas gifts. I started that in like February. I've been working on them all year. I crochet. I don't knit. I was never able to get the hang of knitting. I sew. I recently actually, as part of like, I have boxes of things still at my parents' house. And as a way of getting rid of the wedding dress that I once wore, I recently made angel gowns to bring to local hospitals, and just kind of throw it together. What else? Yeah, I've got like a whole tote of just random craft things.
Yeah, once you get started, right? It's never ending.
I've tried different things. Some things I abandoned. But yeah.
What about singing?
Singing in the shower and in the car.
And
for sure.
Are you good? I bet you are.
Probably not. I think I sound fine, but others might not agree.
We're going to audition you right now. No. Well, astrologers, do we have enough information to work with?
I think so.
Yeah. I've got pages and pages on one side of the list. Yeah, I haven't wavered.
All right. Well, Lindsey, they're going to take a little break and kind of look at the two birth charts and see if your answers kind of led them in one direction or the other. In the meantime, I'm going to send you out to the waiting room, maybe like 5, maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll bring you back in and see if they got it right. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. We'll see you in a bit.
See you then.
Okay, astrologers. You can hash it out.
Yeah.
And find out if you're on the same page.
I'm guessing we are. If you haven't changed at all, Karrin.
I haven't changed my mind.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely. Okay, so prior to us meeting Lindsey, just going up by the survey and some of the transits, I was really leaning towards the Scorpio chart. But upon meeting her and hearing her whole story, I mean, it was just screaming Taurus and all the things in her chart over and over, Libra rising. The thing that I found funny that I underlined was painful massage. To me, that is like exactly what you get when you put a Taurus with a Capricorn moon. So, so she was using so many phrases like, that just were very, so the Taurus Capricorn chart versus a Scorpio Pisces moon chart, this is Earth versus water. And she was so earthy. She used so many like very matter of fact sayings, factory settings, considering our options. She said she did a cost benefit analysis to see if she would be happy. I was like, okay. Pretty early on, I think when she said that, I was like, okay, I feel pretty certain that, so it sounds like that's where you're at.
That's totally where I'm at. When she first came in and said she had tattoos, that threw me. Because I was thinking, the pretty Venusian Taurian, but then
the Cap moon.
Well, the Uranus on the IC.
Mm-hmm.
that little bit of edginess. And, she's got the square between the sun and Mars. The sun's a, sect light, and there's Mars working for her because the sun's overcoming Mars. So Mars is prominent, and Mars is all about needles, tattooing.
Yeah,
so that can work. But I was thrown. I'm thinking it was the Mars on the descendant of the Scorpio chart. But after that, it was just like, oh no, it's definitely the Taurus.
And pretty early on, she said that, actually, when she was describing her tattoos, she said flowers and an olive branch, peace and justice and love. To me, that was like, okay, Libra rising, that's where we're at. And then thinking about going to law school, but that would be too much chaos for her. Taurus and Libra, they're going to want a lot more peace in their life. But she definitely has a lot of, I felt like, Capricorn in her as well. And or Earth just in general. She, saying she's very stubborn and hard-headed.
And the story around her as his sisters and the family life as very Moon, Neptune in the 4th house.
Yeah, I feel like we could go on and on, but since we're in agreement, I think that we can just keep it short and sweet.
There we go. Speaking my language, I was going to ask. When we're on the same page, we just get to it. It is fun to hear you kind of talk about some of the questions that led you in one direction or another, like a little recap of the interview. But we love agreement. Of course, I know I love it when it's a split decision the most. You know that. So are you guys sure that one of you can't decide one way, and then we can have a nice split decision? I'm kidding. All right. It's either going to be all win or all loss, and we're going to find out when we bring our guests back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. The astrologers have decided on the same chart. It's always nice when they're in agreement, although sometimes the skeptic laments it. I love a good split decision. But we're all in. They're either going to be 2 right or 2 wrong, and we're going to find out right now. Dun, 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 dun.
Even though I feel confident, when you put it that way, that makes me nervous.
This is where the lights dim and the spotlight goes on Sarah.
I know. I hate it.
If we're wrong, I might give up astrology if we're wrong here.
No, don't say that.
Oh, you're not the first one to say that. And they did miss it, and they did not give up astrology.
Yeah. No, don't say that. But okay. Well, Lindsey, just to let you know, the 2 zodiac sun signs that we had to choose from are a Taurus and a Scorpio. Lindsey, are you a Taurus?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yes. We knew it.
Okay, the confidence after the fact. No, you were confident before.
I was really confident. But I don't like saying it. I don't like saying how confident I am.
Was it that obvious?
Yes.
When you were on a string of 4 or 5 in a row, Sarah was like, oh, I know which one it is. Well, and I guess we didn't really ask, but Lindsey, how much do you know about your sign?
Taurus, bull, stubborn, down to earth, things like that. I mean, I kind of know just the very, very surface level, descriptors of the sign and everything. So I really don't know all that much. I have known people like friends, or even honestly, I had students who were into astrology and like read me like a book. So I must be pretty textbook.
Well, we are going to get into all of the details of your chart and how the astrologers were able to pick it on the Debrief episode, which listeners can find on Patreon, patreon.com/AstroDetectives. But before we do that, Lindsey, where can people find you? Is there any place you want to send listeners, anything you want to promote?
No, absolutely not. My internet life is completely private. I don't like the idea of strangers seeing every bit of me. So please do not follow me. Thank you.
If they wanted to go somewhere, you would just send them to a good cause, or just go be a teacher, or do something in your community.
Give money or a bottle of wine or alcohol of choice to a teacher. Donate to hurricane relief efforts. Donate to women's causes, minorities' causes, and take a nap because adults are tired.
And Karrin, where could people reach out to you if they wanted to get a reading or in touch with you?
They can just email me. I think I won't try to say that because it's my name, which is so confusing. The notes, it'll be in the show notes, right?
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes for sure.
Right.
All right. Well, that's it, everyone. Let us know what you thought by commenting on whatever platform you follow us on. Links to our accounts are in the show notes. If you like the show and you want to support our little show with a little bit of support and help and keeping us going, you can visit patreon.com/AstroDetectives. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube now, so you don't miss the next episode. Rate and review and tell your friends. And until next time, this case is closed.